Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Ed Carbajal here for MMANews.com. It is September 5th, Labor Day weekend. So we're right in the sandwich of your weekend plans. Hopefully, you're having fun, staying safe, doing what you can do, especially if you're in the Northeast like I am. We just got through a rough period of storms. So hopefully, everybody made it out all right. My Jiu Jitsu Academy didn't. We're drying it out as we speak, as I record this. But here we are. The news never stops. Had a cool UFC card on early UFC Saturday card, UFC Vegas 36, I think we're calling that one. And there's some interesting news in the world of what are we going to call it? I want to say boxing because it's boxing rules, but the whole De La Hoya Belfort thing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before I move on, make sure you check out MMAnews.com and subscribe to their YouTube channel, bell notification, thumbs up, like this video if you like it, where we have interviews for upcoming UFC fights. I mentioned last week we have Rosenstrike and Lauren Murphy for their upcoming cards, done by the great James Lynch, the Canadian God. And if you like anything that I do outside in this combat sports space, you can follow me on Twitter at Carbasil. That is my Twitter handle right there. So let's just get down to business so we can all get about our Sunday activities. Hopefully you're all having a good weekend. I, for one, definitely liked an early UFC card on a Saturday just because, normally on the East Coast, and I know folks across the pond have issues with the timing of these things if you're a fan of the fight game. But, yesterday was a great time for fight fans. Unfortunately, for me, Saturdays, I'm usually busy out and about doing my thing, but that doesn't mean you can't catch the highlights and stuff like that. Interesting card. It was short. I know there was like visa issues and stuff like that. So actually, before we get into the whole boxing thing, let's bring up those results up from the MMAnews.com website. You can check them out yourself. The this card was as much as the fights were short. I can't play any of this for you. I haven't really taken a good look at this. People were talking about the finish from the Derek Brunson, Darren Till, the way that it ended. Um, as far as like Till tapping before the choke was in. I mean, if personally, I think the guy might have some stuff. I mean, if you follow his socials and this stuff leading up to this fight, I feel like there's some stuff going on in his personal life that maybe he's just mute my phone. I don't want to get interrupted over here. Um, maybe he wasn't on his A game. I'm not sure why this link is just pasted there, not an actual link. Um, anyway, who did this? But I think with this sport as it gets bigger, we're turning as much as it's better for the fighters and everybody. If it gets big like the NFL and things like that, I mean, you start looking at the athletes as just these figures on TV, where they just there to entertain you for the night that you're sitting watching. And I think we forget sometimes, they're human beings. They probably got things coming in, and the UFC sometimes does a good job of that, when the whole thing with Walt Harris and other fighters that have issues. I mean, social media, things make it out there, and it has to be addressed. So I'm wondering if Till just wasn't on his A game because he had the collarbone thing, and I know there's been some stuff with run-ins with the cops out there in England. Nothing bad, but just like I don't know. There's stuff out there. If you do a search, you'll find it. But in all honesty, I just feel like that was his issue. Like he just didn't bring his A game. I know he's had weight cutting issues in the past, but I honestly just he's still young. You got to give him time. We'll see what happens with him. People right away, this is UFC and MMA news. The heavy UFC content, so they're all big on throwing him under the bus just because he picked up this L. Especially, I mean, if you're as active on social media as he is, then that comes with the territory, and I'm sure he expects it. But Charles Oliveira actually gave him a shout out, like keep your chin up and stuff like that. So, But interesting main card because you had the finish in the main event. You had 1, 2, 3 TKOs and then one unanimous decision. So short card with finishes like that. I mean, there was a submission in the prelims too. So I missed this Darce choke. I love me a good Darce choke. But man, uh it was nice timing, and I really want to address this fight here because you hear me talk about this enough on this channel in particular, because I know a lot of the MMANews.com readers don't watch a lot of regional MMA and things like that. Paddy Pimblett was a Cage Warriors guy. I talked about, they came and held an event here in California. Was it in July? Not so long ago. They're coming back in October. And eventually they want to do like a Cage Warriors versus, like, American talent that's not signed to the UFC versus Cage Warriors guys that aren't signed to the UFC. And Paddy Pimblett is one of those guys, Paddy the Baddy. I mean, if you didn't know about the hype and you're watching and you're wondering who he was, if you got yourself a UFC Fight Pass account, you can find all his he's an entertaining guy. He's literally just what the UFC is looking for. UFC fans are already like on board with the bandwagon of Paddy Pimblett. I know he didn't necessarily I mean, he got the TKO, but if Vendramini definitely didn't come there to lose either. So he gave back as good as he got, and I think that was definitely probably Pimblett's toughest test as far as, well, when the UFC brings in guys from other organizations that have a following and a decent record like Paddy does, you know, it's always they always seem to give them, which you want, because that's how you know that you belong there or not. That's the whole UFC brand and what they've built. So he definitely got that and probably won over a lot of fans. That's what they had him lead into the prelims. And for someone that that started the main card, lead into the main card, that they definitely got the hype. I mean, he's got his own separate link on the UFC YouTube channel for his post-fight presser. I actually had him. He's a pretty good at submission, so I'm wondering how. Um, I don't remember if they had him as an underdog on the cards. I know his best odds or the best paying odds were him to win by submission, and then he got this TKO. So next fight, folks are probably going to be thinking that he's this great striker and he's going to show off because he's a really decent submission guy, coming from that promotion in the Cage Wars. So again, if you have a UFC Fight Pass account, you definitely want to check him out and his other fights if you're just new to watching him fight. This fight here, I don't know why this is not bulleted or whatever, but this fight here, it's connected with another fight for some reason. Khalil Rountree, this leg kick TKO is already starting up the chatter of banning the oblique kick. If you don't know the highlights all over the internet, we probably have it on here. Yeah, that's it there. Again, I'd love to play it for you, but check out 3 Sunday submissions ago to find out why I can't. But so that oblique kick is John Jones does it all the time. Most people move out of the way. Khalil Rountree, actually, the way he did it, he didn't. I guess he didn't telegraph it, because guys will usually jump. It's almost like a movie, like John Wick type of move and it had that effect. So it comes on the side of the oblique of the leg, and which is like the side of your thigh area, and makes the leg bend, a way that it's not used to bending. And anything that impacts you hard enough when you're not aware and not prepared for it, that's how knockouts happen, and that's how injuries like this happen. But it's legal. He won the fight, got the TKO because of it. His opponent's probably going to now have an injury that he has to deal with before he can fight again, that might require, surgeries or things like that. I mean, I'm sure the injury reports will be coming Sunday, day after this, but we'll find out how bad it is, but people are already kind of like on the not on the fence, but they're on their soapboxes that it should be illegal, blah blah blah. It's combat sports. This is fighting. The unified rules came a long way when there was no rules. I mean, there's no eye pokes, there's no, groin stuff is illegal, eye pokes illegal, 12-6 elbow. I mean, they unified rules, and then the new unified rules, they keep upgrading them. So this kick could be going away, but it's going to take a long time before. I mean, this is probably the first one that we've seen to end a fight like this, and we'll see again how bad his opponent's injury is, if at all. But the thing about it is, Ricky Simone actually put up a really good tweet. So if you're not following him on Twitter, he fights in the UFC, bantamweight, featherweight. I forget what weight class he fights in. Great fighter, but he made an interesting point in his addressing this on his social, and that was, you know, I forget the fight from last weekend where the inverted heel hook. I mean, he was all right, and he was actually all right, but the leg locks. You know how destructive leg locks are. The heel hooks, inverted. No matter how you apply it, even a straight ankle lock can dislocate the bones in your ankle. Um, if you don't tap quick enough. And the thing with leg locks is, usually by the time that you saw again that highlights on MMA News, you can check out from last week's event. Um, if you usually by the time when you're trying to work a leg lock defense or whatever, by the time you feel that the need to tap, it's because damage has already been done and it's too late. That's why if you notice guys that, if you watch submission only grappling, I don't know how deep the I don't think we have a lot of grappling readers at MMAnews.com, but the if you watch like the guys that compete in submission only things, when the leg lock things happen, um the smarter guys, the more seasoned guys, they know when they're got, and they tap before damage happens. It looks like a quick tap, and sometimes because the other guy's cranking it so hard, it still hurts, and you'll see the grimace on their face. So if you're gonna ban this type of technique, then you have to look at other leg damaging techniques. And to Ricky Simone's point, leg locks are more destructive than what happened here. Again, he might be all right. We don't know the details of the injury. So um I think that was the biggest. I talked about Darren Till. I talked about that. I really wanted to talk about that oblique kick too. And I talked about Paddy Pimblett. So that's it for the UFC Vegas 36. Again, it's a short card, so if you didn't catch it, I mean, these shorter cards tend to be a little bit more fun too, especially when it's early in the day. So, if you're what's the phrase I'm looking for? If you're financially well off enough to have ESPN Plus, then you can go back and watch that and enjoy it. I'll wait for it to come on Fight Pass to really get into it and break it down, because, like as I said, I was out and about. So the other thing we got to talk about, that happened this week is the Triller Fight Night, September 11th, was originally supposed to feature with main event Oscar De La Hoya versus Vitor Belfort. Um, Two older fighters that have retired from their respective sports, putting on a boxing match. And I really wish I talked more about this before everything that we're about to talk about happened, because when I was, coming from a family that grew up watching boxing, I'm Mexican. Um, my parents, of course, this was on their radar because they heard De La Hoya's name on the news, and he's fighting and all that stuff. And so they were actually calling me when the news broke about De La Hoya contracting COVID-19. He put the video up on his social media, on Twitter, where it was like, I wanted you to hear for myself. But when I was talking about it with my family, I actually said this fight's not going to happen. Something's going to stop this fight from happening. I mean, I guess I should have predicted COVID, but my thought was, Vitor Belfort has the whole TRT history and things like that. So I was thinking maybe traces of that would pop up when they start testing them. And let's be honest, De La Hoya's history with other substances, is especially lately, is pretty well known. I mean, MMAnews.com, you guys are big UFC guys, so we all know Dana White likes to crack on De La Hoya's rumored cocaine habit. So I thought one of those two things would be the things that get this fight to not happen. I probably should have guessed COVID, but I didn't, and that's what it is. So oddly enough, they went in and looked for Evander Holyfield to fill his place. This event was originally supposed to happen in California, and now because of all this happening, um, Triller reached out to Holyfield and said, let's do this. Can you step in and fill in for De La Hoya against Vitor Belfort? And if Holyfield apparently was down, but the California State Athletic Commission wasn't down, so they're going to move the whole thing over to. I was talking to a friend of mine last night about this. I was like, guess where it's going? Florida, Hard Rock, Seminole. Apparently he's going to get licensed. California wouldn't license Holyfield, so they're going to license Holyfield to compete there. And one of the questions the first question that popped in my head was like, okay, is this going to be better for Vitor Belfort? I mean, he's still fighting. Whether it's 58 years old, just so you know, Evander Holyfield's 58 years old. But I mean, you can find that there's a video out there like TikTok or one of these, video apps where there's this old boxer beating the hell out of a young guy in a ring. So people that have been put their time in boxing the way Holyfield and De La Hoya have probably still have a thing or two against someone that's only boxed so many times. I got to look up because I know Vitor Belfort has a boxing record, but it was in his younger days, and his hands were fast. When you can look at old UFC events where Vitor Belfort would just come in and machine gun guys with punches and finish him. Then he had the spinning head kick. He's got a few striking finishes to his record, but I don't know. I mean, if it's better for him to fight Evander Holyfield at 58. And the thing about before we start knocking 58-year-old Evander Holyfield, I just found this out before we started recording, by the way, so I'm going to read it to you. Holyfield was already getting ready for a fight. Apparently, he was supposed to face Kevin McBride in an exhibition. He was supposed to be on that. So, if Triller had the Teofimo Lopez, George Kambosos, and they had to postpone that for COVID. So that was supposed to be in June, and they postponed it. So it looks like he's been itching to get ready. So this is not an unprepared 58-year-old retired boxer. This is somebody that's kind of been through a camp already and kind of probably has like, I have to expel all this preparation energy that I have, because my original fight got pushed back or canceled or whatever. Did they cancel it? Let me see. They didn't. I'm on Holyfield's Wikipedia. It doesn't say, but so it's not an unprepared. It's not an unprepared Evander Holyfield. So I'm kind of like, this might not be too good for Vitor Belfort, but you never know. I mean, again, I said this, and I don't know how many Sunday submissions, and I'm gonna say it again today because we saw what happened with Woodley Paul last Sunday. I know when I recorded that hadn't happened yet, but it was a split decision for that one. Tyron Woodley could have finished him. You can do your conspiracy theories or whatever, however you want to do it for them trying to market another event and what have you. But the seasoned boxer in these scenarios, when it's these MMA fighters or whatever athlete coming into boxing under boxing rules, the person with more boxing experience is always going to be the one that wins. Evander Holyfield has that. De La Hoya has that over Vitor Belfort. Let me look up Vitor because I know he's got a boxing record. So we got to see not only how his experience, but how many boxing record. Professional boxing. 2006 was the last time he boxed. I mean, he won by knockout. Submission here. So he's got a 1-0 boxing record. And that was in Brazil in 2006. First round knockout against Josemiro Neves. I guess I'd have to go on Boxing Rec to find his record. Again, I'm on Wikipedia looking, but so you got a 1-0 boxer against Evander Holyfield. I ain't trying to box Evander Holyfield. I mean, I got some years of boxing in me. But no, I'm not doing that. Like, pretty sure Evander Holyfield, with whatever is wrong with him. Somebody said that it was 16 years ago he tried to get licensed, maybe, because he did a back and forth like most pro athletes do. He did do a back and forth with I'm retired, no, I'm not, and eventually he did retire right when he was turning 50. I believe that happened. But someone said that he tried to get licensed. It might have been out here in New York, and he was denied because of diminished, slurred speech or something like that. I forget who tweeted that. Um, that's what made me. I actually wanted to look that up on his. That's what made me look up his Wikipedia, but it's not on. It's not on there, from what I can tell. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. So they're moving that to Florida. Um, Florida, the Triller, Manuka, I forget his name that I follow. There's a whole he's been following this whole story closely, and I retweeted it. So if you follow me on Twitter, that's my Twitter handle. If you follow me on Twitter, you can see it for today if you watch this at any point on Sunday. But it's apparently Florida licensed him, and it's going to happen on Saturday now. So that's going to be interesting. I think again, even the what is it, a week, 11 days notice. 11-day notice of Andrew Holyfield stands a chance against Vitor Belfort, who's been ready. They actually had a whole media thing scheduled too, for De La Hoya. And we have the article up at MMANews.com too, where De La Hoya talked about how, he was doing interviews. He talked about how he had been raped as a child and things like that. And then now we see this video surface with him, dealing with COVID in the hospital gown. Like, he recorded from the hospital. I mean, you know, I don't get. I do understand wanting to test yourself and see something. I mean, as an older competitor in the sport, you sit home, you rest, your injuries kind of get better or heal or what have you, and your body starts to feel a little bit. Your workouts are probably. I mean, most of these guys. You look at George St. Pierre. Every time George St. Pierre does something to work out, oh, he's coming back to fight. So and it's because that's all they know as martial artists and boxers. That's the exercise that they know. Even Muhammad Ali, before he left this earth, was still hitting a heavy bag. That didn't mean he was coming back to fight, but the itch. If the itch is there and they feel healthy enough, who are we to say don't do it? I mean, that's my opinion. Don't hate on MMA news because of that, but because we're definitely going to cover it. Anything trending you see, we'll cover. So, speaking of coverage, I want to go back to there's a couple of things that came up. Where's De La Hoya? A lot of archival stuff, I guess, because it's a slow weekend. MMAnews.com. Oh, the statement. I wanted to read De La Hoya's statement on his removal. So I can't play this video again because we'll probably get hit with something, but let me share it with you on screen here. This is the video, so you can see him with the gown on in the hospital. So I wanted you to hear directly from me that despite being fully vaccinated, I have contracted COVID-19 or COVID, and I'm not going to be able to fight next weekend. Preparing for this comeback has been everything to me over the last months, and I want to thank everyone for their tremendous support. And he put it on the thread. Yeah, this is currently in the hospital getting treatment, and I'm confident I'll be back in the ring before the year is up. God bless everyone. Honestly, not to hate on De La Hoya, I don't think he's gonna. This was a try, and the fact that I felt so strongly something was going to happen to make this event not happen, I don't see that part of his statement being true. I mean, hey, prove me wrong by all means, but my man, my man's got problems. A lot of us are aware of. And shout out to Fernando Quiles, who's been on the Sunday submission for me. He actually mentions the Kevin McBride thing with the that I just mentioned that he was getting prepared for. So I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that about why Holyfield is being tapped as a fill-in for this. I That makes me think it's not so much such a bad deal. But again, it's 58. When you see 58, on the as the age of somebody, I mean, combat sports is a young man's sport. Look at all these guys that are coming up. We just talked about the UFC event, the Teofimo Lopez. Like all these guys are, they're either early 30 or late 20s or younger. So it's a young man's game, and I hope it doesn't become a nightmare for Triller. It's already, I mean, the cost to move an event has got to be something that's got them scratching their heads or kicking the the cubicles over there at the Triller Fight Club offices or whatever they have, because you know especially I tweeted the schedule that they had for the media stuff that week, and it literally happened that same day. Was that Tuesday? Yeah, on Tuesday that this stuff was canceled. So I don't know, man. It's not something that not a good look for combat sports. I I really do I worry about, like, when stuff like this happens, it shines a negative light on all these positive stories for the people on the undercard. For example, we'll go back to Woodley Paul. So much focus was put on them. Um I did a live, by the way, with the Canadian God James Lynch. We did like a live watch together on his YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go check that out. I know somebody commented last week on this about how James Lynch didn't plug my whatever. Um, but there was a lot going on that night, and we're busy people, not for nothing. I mean, there's a lot that goes on to do stuff like this and get my notes together. And James Lynch does what he does, not just for MMANews.com, but for multiple outlets. So make sure you give him a follow on social media too, Lynch on Sports, because he's actually been really cool with me. But the the oh god, I can't believe it. Montana Love. I almost forgot his name. Montana Love and Brakovich, Ivan Brakovich. I hope I'm not messing up his last name. If they replayed it last night actually on Showtime, the Woodley Paul thing. That was on the it wasn't the co-main event. Serrano versus Mercado was the co-main event. But Lynch and I actually really enjoyed that boxing match. And it was two legit boxers. Montana Love, who's from the area, um, the Ohio area, they boxed such a great he got a TKO. I forgot what round it is, but it was such a great boxing match that I was so impressed with it. I even said to Lynch during our live when we watched it, I said, I'm gonna write something about this, because the last Triller event, I wrote something, not for MMAnews.com, for another outlet because of stuff going on at MMAnews.com, but the Montana Love for the Triller, the Triller with the last one with the Ben Askren card, with Paul and Askren, they did Frank Mir versus Sean Cunningham. I was so impressed with that match. I had to do a write up about it because it was just getting over. That was such a great, respect from both sides. It was such a great matchup, and that didn't get enough shine. And this match for the same thing didn't get enough shine. Montana Love and Ivan Brakovich. If you didn't watch that match, man, whew, I mean, both guys were literally trying to finish each other. I mean that's the boxing that boxing needs, as far as actual boxers doing. I want to say Ivan Brakovich was kind of like, and I'm sorry if I'm messing up his name. It was, but I want to say he was the brawler, and Montana Love was more of the boxer as far as doing the sweet science head movement and counter punching and things like that. Whereas Brakovich was just trying to put him away, but it was still, two versions of, you always say there's punchers and, the boxers that box with, with technique and stuff like that. I mean, if you haven't been watching boxing and you took a break from it like I did, that was refreshing to see. And again, Lynch and I were watching it. We had so much fun watching that it actually made the night go. I think it was scheduled for 10 rounds, and I believe Montana Love got to finish in the 7th. The corner stopped the fight because Brakovich went down, and then it was right at the end of the round. And then when he went in the corners, his corner waved it off. I mean, stuff like that. It's like stuff like that. That's what they make boxing movies out of. You know what I mean? So if you didn't get to check it out, I'm pretty sure Showtime has it on replay. They replayed it last night. You got the long weekend if you want to catch up on stuff and not enough fights on for you, watch that. But that's it for me. Sunday submission. We'll have definitely more to talk about September. I mean, I'm gonna be watching the Triller thing, so I'll definitely be talking about that next Sunday and any news that in between. But thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend. Stay dry, stay happy. Have fun. Get your fill of barbecue. Throw a few back for me. I'm Ed Carbajal. That's me on Twitter. Make sure you give me a follow. Check out MMANews.com for all your heavy UFC content, filtered probably from somebody else's interviews and stuff. And make sure you thumbs up, bell notification, subscribe to this one so you can check out the newest interviews from the Canadian God, James Lynch. Ed Carbajal, I'm tapping out. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.